He's talking about the wetland, storm drain ditch down through there.
Okay. And you mean for keeping it mowed?
Yes, for keeping the mowed, keeping the mosquitoes down a little bit maybe. It ain't as high as his, but it gets pretty high sometimes, you know. So.
Any other comments?
Well, not really. You know, we got a lot of questions, but I don't know if it's time to bring them up or not on the airport. But we've got a lot of people here, you know, about the new leases, the price on them, they've doubled, you know, and we got guys that's wanting to build hangars. There's no spots. You know, we got a credit card machine that'll only take $500 worth of fuel, and then you have to put another credit card in it. That works good on these little airplanes, but the King Air that was in there yesterday took him 3 credit cards to get $1,500 worth to get it full. So, you know, we got a lot of things over there, you know, that we're kind of worried about, but it ain't really that big a deal. I know some of the other guys might want to say a few things about it, but
Okay.
we're just kind of wondering why things is the way it is, and maybe somebody could give us an enlightenment.
You mean why the credit cards machine?
Well, that, and then, you know, mainly on the airport, just to, you know, why was the leases on these new buildings that we're going to put up, you know, why is the leases doubled than what we're paying? You know, we got, and.
Well, I think, you know, it's my personal feeling on this is that the cost of doing business today is a lot more than it was when some of these were built. Okay, that's a factor.
Yeah, cost of us building it's a big factor too, you know, means we're the one paying the money out to put them up there,
I understand that.
you know.
We have checked into the credit card machine. I've only gotten one other complaint on that, and we're trying to work with them to get that to where it is, allows for a larger amount to be charged on one card. We are still waiting to hear back from them on how to adjust that. It may be that when our agreement expires with them, maybe we need to look for someone else. We do have an agreement with them. It's on, I believe it's only a year long, but we have looked into that.
Yeah, what about the extension off of the taxiway over to the new part? Is there going to be new hangars built over there?
Well, in a couple of weeks, we will have our engineers here to do a presentation to the board on some of the repairs that we're being required to make, and make some recommendations to the board as to what steps our engineer is recommending. And so in the big scheme of things, that is going to be a recommendation, but there are only certain areas that we can put some of the hangars because of some of the new regulations that have come out. And there's also a new person that is in charge of all this, so he's come in with some of his own ideas as well. And so we are currently trying to get all that worked out between MoDOT Aviation and J'Aviation.
Yes.
And so then it'll be in the next couple of weeks that J'Aviation, which our engineers will be here to do a presentation on what we are being required to do, what the recommendations are, that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, that's basically all I got today. I'll let somebody else talk knows more about it than I do.
Nate Scrivener from Eldon, been here my whole life. A few things I'd like to ask about the airport are reasons behind of not having an FBO or courtesy car. We have probably one of the prettiest runways around here, but we don't have an airport. You all want to bring business in here. People are looking for courtesy cars or needing a place to buy oil. We don't have that. Versailles, Missouri has that. I hate to think that Versailles can beat us.
Do they have somebody on, from my knowledge?
They do have a fixed base operator, but there's a lot of airports that has an FBO that doesn't have a full-time operator there, but they have a building they can go into, they can rest, they have a restroom, we have a handy job. Not very many airports out there does not have an FBO, and especially ones with runways like this.
Because that is part of the 5-year plan that they have us do every year. And we just have to prioritize, because we only are allowed so much money every year. Steve could talk more on this, but then MoDOT and the FFA, they will only allow us to do, we have to do the steps they want us to do first. That was actually one of our top recommendations. Now, we have looked into the courtesy car, and we have talked with our insurance agent about it. We were speaking with the rental car companies in Jeff City. Now we have one here. So we have an option now to go talk to them about maybe working something with us on that. But the last time we did talk to our insurance agent, there were only a few reasons why they would approve us to just have a courtesy car. But we have been working on it. We just have to jump through some of the hoops.
So what's been done the last 5 years? Where's the money gone that could have went for an FBO other than the range extension? Where does that 5 years start?
Well, we actually have around $92,000. Some of that money has been spent on the repairs. There's $92,000 that has to be spent here in the next, I think by September. And that is getting ready to be put towards the required repairs that have to be made on the taxiway. Again, Aviation will be here. We've had to switch some of this around because of some of the new requirements and some of the new restrictions that they have coming in. And what we were trying to do as the city was make sure that we still can keep hangars to keep people to where they have somewhere to go versus the guy's suggestion that we just tear them all down and then we do all the repairs. So that's part of what's our different options are gonna come to the board in a couple of weeks. So then we can go ahead and get a plan. We also have learned some additional money that may be available for us to put into this. And so we have to make sure that we take the steps properly so we don't lose out on that money, because if we go ahead and start something, you can't backtrack with it. So there are a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. We just have to get it all put together correctly with all the different agencies that are involved to make sure that we're doing it the right way and that we're able to finance it all.
Okay, on your courtesy car, you said something about rental. We don't rent from other airports. The only time that you might pay a little something is if you don't buy fuel. Everybody else is behind a lock and key that only pilots would know the code in which to get to that key.
We looked into that with the rental cars because it was, we had lots of requests for that because we don't have a courtesy car. So at least that's an option now. We have been talking with the insurance company to find out what we need to do to be able to put one out there. But we have not apparently met all those requirements yet because it has not yet been approved.
Do you know those requirements?
I do not know all of them personally. I only called on one particular person that called me that was coming in, so I have not been working directly with them, but Steve has a lot of the information as well.
And on the city hangars, you brought up another subject about tearing them down or whatever. Now, when you go to do that, what are the people that are occupying those spaces? As myself right now, what are we supposed to do with our aircraft?
That's what I'm saying. That's what we're working out with Aviation and MoDOT, is so we can make sure that everybody has somewhere to go before we start doing our repairs. So that's what we're trying to get it all to where it meets all of the requirements, but nobody's out of hangar. Okay.
And then I just heard a few comments about that mud hole that's been called a wetland. That's nothing about a wetland. That's just a mud hole. What's the options to be able to bring something in there and create the drainage ditch that needs to be created? I mean, that's all it is. It's just drainage water that's not being drained. I mean, it's coming from the pool. You're draining from everywhere around there. That's where it ponds up. All it needs is be excavated out to be drained correctly. There's nothing where they can actually brush hog and take care of it and not cut ruts in it. So that is one of my concerns.
What was the acronym you used for the service?
FBO, fixed base operator? Yeah. Some are manned, some aren't. But it is a place for a pilot to sleep. It's a place for them to go to the bathroom, have a cool place to sit, because a lot of these airplanes don't have air conditioning. And they, 6 times I've blown my vehicle out because I was at the airport when somebody showed up and needed to go somewhere. So, you know, it'd be kind of nice to, I know I fly a lot of places to go eat. Some places I land right at the, I mean, it'd be nice to even have a restaurant that's, well, there's a nice pad right there when you go into the airport. It'd be nice to have a place to eat there. But that's just, you know, when I do go places, we go to Boonville all the time, fly in there, jump in the car, run over the boats, come, you know, eat, come back. You know, it'd just be nice to have an FBO and a courtesy car. I think you would see an increase in business. Another thing to consider is maybe MoGas. I think Mexico might be the closest place that has MoGas, and what that is, it's just an unleaded gas. It's 91 octane, and a lot of these airplanes can get a piece of paper certifying that they can run it. So it's not taking away from your avgas, but it is creating where I've got an aircraft that I carry gas to from the gas pumps. So that's a consideration maybe in the future to put MoGas in.
You understand what you're talking about, Steve?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically
Oh,
just
this is
unleaded fuel.
It's just 91 octane. You get
Yeah.
91 or 93 octane, but most places are 91.
With no ethanol.
With no ethanol, correct.
No ethanol, in it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just the old premium gas that we used to buy years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
But with that, that's all I have.
Thanks for the input.
Well, I'm just here to support Steve and everybody else in the airport. I do rent a hangar from you. I'm very much looking to build one as soon as we can, you know, get everything worked out. I am kind of concerned about the doubling the price on the leases. That is a concern before I build. And I would think that the city, it would be to their advantage to build as many hangars out there as you can, because, you know, you get it on the city tax roll, and you get the water and the sewer bill from them, and some other revenue, the gas tax.
No, we don't get any city.
We don't collect any property tax.
Oh, no, you get it,
No,
okay.
there's no
So the
property
county
tax
does then,
whatsoever.
so,
Yeah,
yeah,
but it
yeah.
doesn't help the city.
Okay, my mistake.
Today,
Okay. That's, yeah, all right. I've heard some stuff about the wetlands down there. I've had a little experience with that. You really want to stay away from the wetlands if you can. I wouldn't even call it that, you know, because if EPA gets involved, then you will have to make it a wetland, you know. And you'll have to maintain it like that. You won't be able to mow it. You'll never be able to build anything there. I had one down by my RV park in the Lake of the Ozarks, and the highway department built a new highway through there. And they could not even get EPA to give them the permission to go through it. They had to buy another piece of land somewhere else and make it a wetland to make the EPA happy. So you really want to watch that, you know, just as experience. Like I say, I'm very interested in building it as soon as we can get some of these things worked out. The courtesy car, there's one thing I'd like to clarify. It's not for us, you know. None of us guys will use it, you know. It's for people flying in here. And like I say, I've used them at different airports, and like I say, it's a great thing to land here and go to a motel or go eat lunch or stay a couple days. I've done that, you know. And you don't need a brand new $30,000 car. A lot of times I'll land in the airport and they might have an old highway patrol car or something. Just something to get around town, you know.
Wore out city car.
Yeah, that's perfectly right, you know, just anything.
A lot of places have a 2-hour limit on their courtesy cars.
well, that's one thing that I was curious about. The other thing is that kind of concerns me is the insurance factors.
I think in the state of Missouri, anybody that's got a driver's license driving somebody else's automobile is automatically covered underneath their own policy if they have a policy.
Their
The
personal.
personal policy.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
That's something
Well,
we have
Something to check
The only
into.
thing, that's something we'd have to look
Yeah,
at
you'd have to
before we
look
do
at it.
something.
But I would think that the insurance would be very reasonable, because the only person would be driving is pilot. I mean, you've got to have, you know, you can't have DWIs or anything like that, even to be a pilot, you know, so. And most time they request the pilots to put gas in it, so there's very little cost to you, I would think. Like I say, it's not for us, it's for people coming in here to do your thing. That's it.
Anything else?
That's
Thank you.
Thank you.
The only other option, which would be in the future, I'd love to see Eldon Airport have an AWOS. AWOS stands for Automatic Weather Observation System. Warsaw has one, Camden has one, several local airports, Lisi fine. It gives the pilot a chance to tell what the winds are, the ceilings are, the cloud cover, that type of information, critical for landing an airplane at your airport.
Now, does that send a signal to the pilot coming in?
It's a radio code like
It's
they see-
automated.
It's automated, it's,
Automatically hits on the radio?
No, we have to dial into it, but it's automated system that updates itself. It's
Every
what
5
he's
minutes.
talking about.
it'll tell you the wind, the direction, ceiling of clouds, barometric pressure, all of the critical information, you know, especially for business jets, especially for
I
the,
think it'd be something nice to have. My question is this, I wonder if there's a grant that we can apply for to receive that or something of that nature?
Yeah, I'm
Something
sure,
we-
There's
grant money can be spent on that. That would be-
Yeah, through the National Weather Service.
you know, sir, if it'd be okay, I'll look into that myself, if you want me to.
Oh, I don't have no problem with either. If you
Okay,
get this
I'll be glad to
information,
get back to you.
and bring it to the city, and
I certainly will.
we'll take it, you know, first, there, that we can do something like that, and we don't have to put out a lot of money for it. I think we need to be doing that.
I actually think there's grants out there for the FBOs as well.
Do what?
I'm pretty sure there's grants out there for FBOs as well.
Yeah, I think that money.
I think.
There
I'm sure
is,
it could be spent on that.
we have, state regulates us what we can go through, and I'll speak to this when it's my turn, but
We gotta find out everything to see that, what it would cost for the expenses and that nature, because right now, we're just trying to keep enough money together to repair the streets. And if you drove through town today dealing with the infrastructure on the flow, it's all getting old, it's all getting teary, we can't even get all the water off the streets. And we got a lot of rain today, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, we're limited in finances in some of the things we do. And that's how come I asked it whether or not there was a grant available that anybody knew of that we could come up with.
I do not know that answer off the top of my head, but I'll be glad to look into it.
Look into it, I appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Again.
A lot of business on the airport. I'm over here from Warsaw. Speaking to a couple of things that these guys said about the AWOS, not only does it make operations at the airport safer, but in the future you'll be able to put in different types of more precision approaches, which on days like with weather's today, you'll be able to get more traffic to the airport because they'll have the equipment to shoot the approaches with lower minimums. Everything else was said. A lot of these guys have businesses and stuff on the airport, and we just like to see that grow because all the businesses on the airport are doing nothing but bringing tax dollars to the city and making the city a better place too. So that's all I have to say.
I have a business that's in Missouri, Illinois, and Kansas, and I travel those 3 states, and my home base is Eldon. It is all the airports I travel to, and I guess there's probably no pilots here. Nobody's a pilot. Nobody's dad was a pilot. Nobody's brother, daughter, cousin, uncle. Okay, we know where we're at. So,
I'm sure how many road do you have?
My
How
dad
many of
was,
you-
but I was a baby.
how many of you have ridden in an airplane? A small airplane, I'm not talking 737s. Okay.
And I think
Come out anytime, we'll have to give you a ride. Okay. We travel to Warsaw, we travel to Sedalia, we travel to Clinton, we travel to Creve Coeur, we travel to Springfield, downtown and the regional. We travel to Branson West, we travel to Sedalia, and all over. And there is a place to go other than a porta-john. And when people come in to Eldon and they land in their $1.5 million aircraft, and we meet them on the ramp and they're like, hey, where's the phone? Or where's the pilot lounge so we can sit down? We've been in this plane, we left Florida and we're on our way to Wisconsin. We've been in this plane for 5 hours and we just need to sit down and figure out the next route. And we just direct them to the porta-john. You can fit 2 in there very tight. One's got a stand, the other one can sit comfortably. Okay? And that's kind of embarrassing. It really is, because they always say you have such a beautiful facility here. You have such a beautiful runway. You have such a beautiful, little operation. And so if there's anything you can do, you don't have to call it an FBO. You can call it a pilot lounge. You can call it a shed with a door and 110 going into it. And if it's 10 by 10, that's twice as big as the current pilot lounge. So if we're not asking, nobody's asking for tile floors and marble this and, just a place for pilots to get out of the weather or to get into, to determine what their route of travel is. And when they fly in for business, they want to know, is there a phone I can use if their cell phone doesn't have coverage? And I'm sorry, there's not. Is there a courtesy car? No. Is there any place we can go? Well, you can walk over to the hotel. They probably got a phone. And that's not what we do. Junior opens his doors. Everybody says, here, we'll just run you around. Where do you need to go?
Do they have pay phones at these other places? Is that what you're talking about? Or what kind of phone are you talking about?
Inside the pilot lounges, there's phone systems.
They also have internet access with computers in there, so we can get our weather
Yeah.
of where we're traveling.
I do want to say that James, who mows the property, does a great job. He's easy to get along with. And anytime we've asked him and anytime he's asked, we've all tried to get along, and he does a great job. Steve does a great job. Every time he's come out and we've communicated, we've had no problems. And so I want to make that clear that your staff, as far as I'm concerned, is doing a good job. Now, I was a mayor of a town, and I was city councilman for 7 years. And when the police department would get a new car, they'd cycle the old car, and it would go to the parks department, or it would go to the street department, or the sewer department, or administrative, if it was a really nice car. And our insurance was a blanket policy. Didn't matter. Everything was covered. Some things had a little bit more risk, and some things were just maybe a 5-minute discussion. But I don't know that you're going to have too much opposition to getting a 1998 Crown Vic or a 2005 Crown Vic with 180,000 miles parked at the airport, with a key that, in all the airports we visit, I talk to the field-based operators, and they just don't have too many problems. There's a sign in, there's a sign out. They take a picture of your driver's license, it's on file. You call ahead, you say, I'm going to be there and I'm going to take the car. They'll say no problem.
How do they sign in?
Well, when
Is that a manned location usually?
So in Bolivar it is. You get there, you call ahead, hey, I'm going to be there at 8 this morning. They'll have a car, you sign the paperwork, you're out the door. In Clinton, they don't. It's not manned. So the car is a...
First come, first served.
Correct. The car is a Mercury Capri, or Mercury Mariner, I think. And Ford, in their infinite wisdom, puts a 4-digit code on the side of their doors. And you go 122, whatever the code is. I don't want to tell you guys because you don't like to steal it. So you put that number in, the door opens. When the door opens, the key is in the door. Okay? It's just known that it's a 2-hour minimum, or maximum. You return the car full of fuel. And it's on the honor system. That car is actually sponsored by the local car dealership. And he has his name on the side of the car. And it says, Clinton Municipal Airport, vehicle donated by, whatever that Ford dealer is.
Jason, if I might interrupt, Warsaw Airport has a little safe in their FBO, and you
Yeah.
just punch in the radio frequency, what we call a unicom, how you talk to the pilots going into that airport. The safe opens, the key's there, you remove the key, sign your name, telephone number,
Yeah.
shut the door, use the card, you put the key back, put the safe closed, you're off and on your way. It goes from that extreme to Mexico Airport that has a first-class FBO. Kit Bond, what would you expect? They have their courtesy car with a key under the floor mat. You open the door, pull up the floor mat, grab the key and go. That's all there is to Mexico.
Is he living there now?
No, I don't really know.
I don't think so,
I don't think
because
he is either.
I thought he divorced,
I think that's right.
All right, so say you go up there to, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
To Trenton, Missouri, where I fly to quite often, they have, to even get into their FBO, it's key coded out there, and it's Unicom code to get in there. It'll be Unicom emergency frequency. It'll be something that only the pilot knows.
You know, I think it's something if we could contact the dealership locally or something, nature, that they may want to do that. I know we can write it off and see if there's somewhere we could say something, but that's just, it takes time and effort to do that. But we like the input on things of that nature, so we can see what we can do.
Sure. Lloyd Belt's a pilot. He comes out of the airport quite regularly. You know, maybe he'd be interested in donating a $1,500 car. You know,
Probably be,
he
yes.
put his dealership on it, and he might be willing to do that. Most airports have a gate, and you don't get in without knowing the code. I'm not necessarily saying you're asking for a gate, but I'm saying that most of the all of the field-based operatings and all of the pilot lounges that I go to, when they're not manned, you enter a code to get in. It's just not free for all. You know, you've got to know the codes to get in, and so there is a level of security. Obviously, you guys know some of the airport security that's required from the feds. And that's why we've got a nice fence mostly around the airport. You know, it would be interesting to know about these leases. If you're going to be moving forward, and is it going to be advantageous for us business owners to move forward with that? I built a hangar on my property, and I have a 1,300-foot grass strip that was destroyed in a tornado last March 6th, and so that puts me at your airport. If I build another one, do I take a chance and build it on the farm again, or do I build it here in Eldon? Well, I don't want to build a $90,000 building if it's not going to be to my advantage or my kids' advantage to own that and have some negative tax implications that could hurt us financially by doing that.
The only thing we gotta make sure is we gain enough money so we can keep everything up around there and everything, the way it should be.
Sure.
And do things of that nature. We gotta make sure financially that, that we can provide the service to everybody. But we also got to make sure that it's, the profit margins there that it pays for what we do.
I understand.
Okay, and that's, I think that's fair to everybody.
Well, from what I've noticed, your fuel sales are up. You might be just a little bit in the black this year on fuel sales.
I hope so.
Okay. And I think you finished last year, what, 15,000 up or so, give or take?
After we paid for $52,000 lease on the fuel tax.
Okay. So after you paid that? No, before. Okay. So before you paid for the lease, you were 15 up. After you paid for the lease, you were back in the red. Okay.
But I understand also the sales were up this year over what was last year.
Yeah.
And I think if we did, I think that there's a possibility to expand the hangars and stuff out there, which probably needs to happen. And we just need to take a look at it, make sure that we're.
Most people here know we got 20 acres that runs, 90 degrees there, but it should be the Leo Curry property. There's a 20 acre stretch of property that
We put
undeveloped.
Went over there to Windsor.
What's that?
Over there at the Windsock?
Yes.
On the horse farm side?
In our recent meeting, we learned some of the places we even thought would be good. We learned we can't put them there.
Right.
Because of some of these new regulations. Part of what I was going to say at my time, but we've had enough meetings. I've been here a little over 2 years, and so this has been a lot of discussion, but we've been building up because we know money is an issue. And so we had to build back up some money, but it is in our ordinance that we have an airport board. And one of the recommendations that Steve and I were gonna make and that I was gonna make to the board is that we go ahead and implement that again, because we're at a stage now where there's a lot of decisions to be made.
Right.
And people that know a lot about the airport business should be the ones in those discussions. I don't wanna be the one to make all those decisions. And we've done surveys and we get a lot of this feedback. And, so I can pass on information, but it does feel to me like, especially with all the decision-making that MoDOT's starting to wanna have made, that would be a better body of people to come back to the board to make those recommendations. Steve and I can be there from the city side, you know, and we know administratively as far as the funds.
Sure.
So while it may seem like we're just saying this because you guys are all here, we just had a meeting this past week. Again, had a bunch of emails today about some of the things going on. So there is going to start being some activity. And I, of course, have taken notes on everything everybody's said so we can start looking at that and evaluate that ways, bring it back to the board. And so, as the mayor said, your input is very much appreciated, and we are looking, a lot of our surveys said a lot of the same things you guys are saying.
Right. Well, and I think I've spoken to you on the phone about having a review board or a board of people that could do that, and having a liaison that would communicate the two sides. I am a member of the Facebook group, the Wetlands of the Eldon Airport. I'm also I'm a member of that Facebook page. Okay, I hug my oak tree every night when I go home. I give it a nice big hug, and I rob it of walnuts and oak leaves.
Tell me exactly, how does that oak tree relate?
It's funny. That's all I got. My point is, there's 187 or so people on that Facebook group, and I've seen very little activity since 2014. I mean, there's 2017. There was a little bit of activity, and I didn't see any activity for the meeting tonight. I don't know how well organized that group is. I've been a member of it for about a year, and I'm not hearing a lot of activity. So I can't speak, to on an educated level about the wetlands or the runoff ditch or the drainage ditch, or however we want to use the verbiage. Words matter, I understand that, and so, but I would be very interested in knowing what direction you guys are going with that, and are you going in that direction because of pressure from an outside group or an outside agency, or is this just something
What,
that...
to be a wetlands?
Yeah.
When I went to the Department of, I don't remember which one it was, and I said, is that a wetland? They said, no, it's not. It's never been declared a wetland. It's something somebody threw out there.
Yeah.
And the deal, and the reason that we want to keep it mowed, like the gentleman that spoke the very first time, his complaint was, the house next to him don't mow their grass, right? So if the scenario is this, if you live in a city and you're required to mow your grass,
So the city.
then, well, I think probably that's right.
That's right. The city is too. And we dealt with that in the city.
We try to do that. Sometimes the weather creates problems. We have dramatic rushes to do certain things to get them in a certain area done for 4th of July, and we may have grass grow like this the next 3 days. And sometimes it throws them behind in getting it done. It's not that we don't want to put the effort out to do things of that nature, but the bottom line is this: we require the people here, and we take care of that property, then we should be under the same guidelines.
Sure, sure. Well, I just have one more thing, and I won't waste any more of your guys' time. If you make it a wetlands and you cause another problem, I'd rather you mowed it. And so my 2 cents and advice would be, if you're going to try to make it a wetlands because you're trying to keep from having to mow it, then you get rid of one problem, but you create another problem. It is the city's responsibility to mitigate and to abate, when you have abandoned vehicles and you have ordinance violations because people have, things in their backyard they're not supposed to, and you have tall grass and weeds and 16 dogs. I understand you got lots on your plate. I get it. It does look bad. You're right. If you are writing tickets and giving 10-day abatement tickets for people to mow their yards, and they drive by and see the city parks up to their knees, or they see the airports up to their waist, And so it is a challenge.
Whole life, just in support for the airport as well. Kind of throwing in on top of the FBO, like they were saying, it's got a combo to get into it. And for the courtesy car or whatever, you're not just getting any person off the street. And typically, for the most part, your pilots are pretty trustworthy people, you know. It's not like you've just got people going in there and tearing the place up. Same with the courtesy car. It's very rare that you go anywhere and see the courtesy car getting abused. I mean, it gets used exactly what it's for. You know, somebody, they get in some weather or something, they go to town and get something to eat, or they have some problems with their plane, they need to run to Napa, you know. It's just, it's simple things like that.
Got a question.
Yes, sir.
How do you become qualified to use that car the first time you fly in here? Tell me how that works.
You cannot obtain a pilot's license under the age of 17. You can't obtain a driver's or a pilot's license under the age of 17.
No, but how do you qualify to get access to drive the car? Let's say I flew it here the first time.
Most of the time, they'll have a 4-digit code, whether it be NEC fine, AWAS frequency, the Unicom frequency. A pilot knows the frequency to punch the 4-digit code in to get the keys to the
And that's all they have to do that?
That's all they got to do.
That's all they have to do.
Is that what you want to comment on that?
Yeah, Mayor, you just don't pre-qualify the people. I mean, it's a risk, you know, people coming in, but, you know, the pilot.
Well, I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, there's no pre-qualification.
I flew down to Texas, got a courtesy car. Clipboard inside, nobody around, write down my name, address, driver's license number. Took the keys, left, an hour later, brought it back full of gas. I mean, it's as simple as, it is the honor system, but it's kind of, most of your pilots are pretty responsible.
But most of your stuff is logged, correct? You can go back to the logs. You can
Yep,
also-
like I said, you got your name, address, and driver's license number. Even if there was somebody there, what other information would they take down? Maybe a picture of your driver's license, you know. And there are ways to fraud it, but it, like I said, for the most part, it's trustworthy. I think everybody's pretty well covered. I just kind of wanted to add in that you're not just giving cars out to crazy people. It's pretty trustworthy.
Now, some of the stuff you're bringing up with the FDO and all, we have a 5-year plan. The problem we have with doing that, we can use federal money, but there's matches that the board would have to prove. It's not so much coming up with the match, it's whether the state feels like that's the #1 priority. That is our biggest problem. Debbie was in the meeting, we both sat there, both argued with them, especially over the hangars. I know that's a main concern. We literally argued and tried to come to agreement where we're concerned we don't want to lose what we have. We want to gain more pilots. So we're just pushing the issue on how can we compromise with state. Keep our hangars, but keep them happy at the same time. What they are getting at out there is your wingspan in between 2 buildings. They're calling it a bus, you know, the versions with propane tank and everything. That, yes, I know you would say it's nitpicking, but that's the way state is. But we have to go by the rules. So the main concern is the taxi lane, the asphalt is the main concerns with the state. They're going to make us fix that. We've come up with a couple of different options. Now, I don't want to get fully detailed because we're not there yet, but one of them, you know, is to go around, fix the asphalt towards the backside where the big box hangars are, and still keep our key hangars until we can get a taxiway cut in back by the windsock, like you guys were talking about, where you guys can build. That's why we're pushing for. You know, we don't know if that's going to happen for sure, but that's one of the ones of the options we're pushing for. Me and Debbie pushed there for quite a while on just the whole point of it was we need spaces for you gentlemen to build. And we know the demand's there. Mr. Stockman, we know he's wanting to build. We know there's several others wanting to build. So, you know, we want you there. We want to find a way to make you happy. Now, on the FBO, that we know we cannot build it right away, but if there is other options, like you're saying, if the city decides, you know, and that's up to the board, but, you know, we can put the different type of hangar FBO in there with different types of money, you know, but we can't use federal money, or state money, due to the fact that they decide when, where, and how. Because if they think that the asphalt's tore up, they're gonna make us fix the asphalt for us. But most of you see the bust at the very front of where you're at, the asphalt is tore all to pieces. We know that. The problem is the bust between the wingspans with the bigger box hangers. They go in there, they go by the door. Gentlemen. They go in and see that big door. Whether there's small planes in there or not, they go by that door. And we have to argue, and we literally, Debbie can vouch for this in the meeting, we have to go to you, Jim. Make you sign off on a letter that you're not gonna go buy a great big huge plane and drive it through there. You know, just to keep them happy. So there's different things we have to do, so like Dave was talking about, to go through to get them, to get us money. And that's one of the things we're fighting with. But we have plenty of options, and we're trying to make sure we do not lose anybody. We want more hangers.
So talk about revenue, you can't find a hangar.
All the airports, Warsaw,
They're full.
Boonville, they all got 60 hangars up there, they rent them all
We
the
do
time,
have
they own them,
room to
they rent
expand,
them.
and that's one thing.
We are
But I mean, that would give you your revenue there, and if you build them, it'd be nice to have a door on the front. People will pay some more money than $75 a month if they have a door.
Part of what we're trying to deal with first is that basically the bottom line is that they're telling us we have to do the fixes first before they're gonna allow us to do anything else. So that's where our negotiation is right now, is can we, because of this other money that they discovered, that we're gonna try to get in addition to what we get annually and what is sitting there that has to be spent. So we're trying to get special permission to where we can propose to the board that we flip-flop that. Let's get those other hangars built, so when those other ones are torn down, but they're the ones that are kind of call the shots. So we're just trying to negotiate with them, because that was the first thing we said, is we don't want anybody to be out of a hangar. So, but we had a whole plan. He's even got just a basic design to build off of for an FBO, but they're saying, first you're doing this. So that's where our challenge is right now.
I'm sorry, the fixes consist of what again? What do the fixes consist of?
Asphalt.
Asphalt,
Just that.
right. And then the one set of hangars, there's, they want more wingspan room.
Yeah, in between there and the back.
Right.
Yeah.